Hey, 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 it is your girl, Amy Plano, the hiring dietitian, here to simplify the hiring process for all registered dietitians and CNSs looking to hire employees to your practice. And today I wanted to answer a common question, and a question all practice owners need to answer is, what payroll system do you want to use? And as you guys know, I have had a group practice since 2009, so I have needed a payroll service for almost 2 decades at this point. So with that being said, it's a fair guess to state that I've used most of the payroll systems. And I want to just give you a little bit of an over flavor for the ones that are out there, and then talk about why I decided to go with what I went with, because I know for me, I've definitely had some frustrations relative to running payroll. So I have used all of the major payroll systems. So Sure Payroll, Square, Paychex. The only one I really have not used was ADP. And I also have not run payroll through QuickBooks. With that being said, Sure Payroll was somewhat similar to Gusto, which is the one I'm using right now and enjoy. But I found that the customer support for Sure Payroll, and especially the selling side, was a little bit aggressive. Paychex, ADP, I found those were very robust, and those were for like large corporations like a Yale New Haven hospital, or a Dell or an Apple. Like, I feel like the interface was more or less built for large businesses, and most of us are small businesses, and so we have different needs that bigger practices and organizations have. With that being said, even though ADP and Paychex are kind of these national products, and you have probably at some point in your career had a paycheck issued by that, I am really anti like hard sales, and I get very annoyed if I say no to somebody and no to a rep, and they just continue to bother me. And so for me, ADP was out, in Paychex, because I found their sales side was super aggressive. It's really interesting, as a registered dietitian, we are generally not face to face with a bunch of vendors, but what I found in the payroll space was, like, these are salespeople and they are fairly aggressive and they want to get you onto their particular program. And like I said, they are fairly relentless. With that being said, I use Gusto, and I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I didn't love. And then I really want to talk about why I use it and why I think it is a good service for most dietitians who are looking to run payroll in their practice. So for example, the one thing I did not love about Gusto was when, in the beginning, and this could have been an Amy P issue, I had switched, like, I think in March of 2024 from Square. And the reason why I switched from Square was I found it was like really hard and clunky to find stuff. And I found it was kind of all over the place. Like, I would log into the dashboard, I'd have to Google the directions for the 100th time. So anyway, so when I switched over to Gusto in March, I found it somewhat challenging to export all of my data. And I kept on running into an issue with Gusto where, like, it wouldn't let me run payroll. Like, I was missing something. I couldn't figure out what it was done. But once I got through that, I was totally cool with Gusto. So I want to talk a little bit about why I find it easy. And I would say it's a very modern interface. Gusto will file taxes on your behalf. It also has a time clock, which if you have employees, you are required to have. Even if you're paying them by the hour and you're having them recorded a different way, generally speaking, in all of the states, it is a requirement to make sure that you have a time clock noting exactly when your employees are clocking in and clocking out. So that they have that on the back end. One of the nice things is if you also have independent contractors, both domestic, so in the US and international, you have the ability to do those as well. And so say you only have a contractor that works for you in a limited capacity, which is what a contractor should, you are only charged when you run, when you invoice or you pay that particular contractor. So that is nice. That's not bundled into like your monthly fee. So I have an international contractor, and I like it that it allows me to pay it in like their native currency. Just it streamlines the whole process. Like I said, one of the nice things is if you pay your dietitians, in my practice, I have a client facing rate. So like when they're actually counseling patients, and then I have an administrative rate, and then I have a training rate. And so the nice thing about Gusto is you can have their hourly rate set or their salary set. And then you can also like have additional money that would go in their paycheck to cover things like non-client facing time or meetings or training. I also like that you can export the information to QuickBooks. So I use QuickBooks for my taxes. And like I had mentioned, Gusto pays your self-employment taxes automatically off of the paycheck. So those go automatically once a quarter, once the quarter ends. So you don't have to worry about that. But into your QuickBooks or into your invoicing system, you can connect the two. And then you can, post payments to QuickBooks so you can itemize what it costs you for labor. And so as a whole, like I said, I have found it pretty seamless. You can set it up for auto payroll. So if you want to just everybody's salary and everybody works the same hours, it's nice and easy to run it. Or you can run it manually and just set a cadence that works best for you. Just a quick reminder for payroll. If you are an S Corp, you have to be running payroll. And the other key piece, which many dietitians don't know in group practices, is that the cadence in which you run payroll is not dictated by you, it's dictated by your state. So for example, in some states, you have to run it 20 times a year. In certain states, you have to run it at least every 2 weeks. Certain states, you have to run it weekly. So make sure you check with your state laws relative to running payroll in terms of when it needs to be run. But I would say as a whole, Gusto is a little bit more expensive than Square. I think it's about it's like 30% more. But the nice thing also about Gusto, and I'm not going to go into it now, is that it has a whole human resources side. So if you need benefits, whether it be health insurance tied in, or you want to give your dietitians a stipend, or you want to be connected with a benefit specialist, you can add an additional charge per employee. And then you have access to this whole other side of resources for the HR side, which is kind of cool. I think I pay on average about $130 a month just to run payroll. So that means paying contractors, international contractors, and salaried employees. And so that's just the cost of doing business. And probably maybe with Square, like I said, maybe I was like a little under 100. So like I said, I was very grateful to get away from Square because it was super, the dashboard just kind of stunk. So I'm going to drop I have an affiliate link for Gusto. I think it will give you like $100 in credits, which is kind of amazing. I have found them seamless. And like I said, I have used them all. And so I am a good guinea pig. I'm always happy to answer any questions you guys have about Gusto. So if you want to put them in the comments below, or if you're in my coaching program, we can go deeper on our calls, but I really am a fan of Gusto. I have used them all, and I have found as a small business owner with less than 10 employees that for me, the ease, the convenience is exactly what I'm looking for. And it takes very little time out of your day once you're set up.